Good evening, I'm Regina Lake.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. Senator Imee Marcos says her brother's administration has lost its way. And no, Vice President Sara Duterte's official endorsement of her re-election bid is not a reward for the hearings that she conducted on Duterte's arrest.
A Chinese research ship continues to loiter within the country's exclusive economic zone of Batanes. We'll be speaking to maritime law expert Jay Batong-Bakal about this, as well as Google recognizing the West Philippine Sea later on in the program.
And are you commuting or driving to your Holy Week destination tonight? We will be bringing you live updates from PTEX and NLEX later on.
Pag sinabi ba natin na itim ngayon ang kulay, mas madidescribe siguro natin nung nakaraang administrasyon na sobrang itim at ngayon ay papaliwanag sa panahon ng kasalukuyang administrasyon. Hindi man ganun pakaputi, pero patungo na doon.
Strong words. Dark days nga ba? All I know is this set. And I haven't been back with the TBS set in a while.
Welcome to the new set.
This set is very bright.
To the Ken and Controversies.
You know what else is new?
Is it? Okay.
Yes, very nice.
Nag-level up kayo whilst I was away.
Sorry, no offense, Reg. Parang ano lang yan eh. From Uniteam to...
Uniteam. Uniteam. So from Dirty Red Couch to Kenneth Cobon pa yun?
Yes.
Not
a bad upgrade.
Not bad, girls. But the chatter over Senator Imee Marcos' new campaign ad is still loud and fiery. And today, she added more fuel to it, holding a press conference wherein she said Vice President Sara Duterte's endorsement of her was out of friendship and was not a reward for the hearings that she conducted on former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest.
She also shared that despite tensions between their families, her friendship with VP Sara has remained strong.
But the senator also admitted that her relationship with President Bongbong Marcos is currently strained and that she hasn't been able to speak to him directly. Here's the report.
Senator Imee Marcos insisted the endorsement from Vice President Sara Duterte was not a reward for the hearings she conducted on former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest. Instead, she says it was born out of their long-lasting friendship.
Ay, hindi ko naisip yun. Hindi rin niya naisip. Talagang nag-uusap na kami noon. Ako, higit sa lahat, walang mapaglagyan ng saya, pasasalamat at karangalan sa aking puso. Simulat sa poll, kaming dalawa naman talagang magkaibigan.
That's even though VP Sara's endorsement is coming a little late with just over 3 weeks to go before the midterms. Senator Imee also said their friendship remains intact even amid the ongoing warfare between their families. She also admits feeling partly responsible for convincing VP Sara to run alongside her brother, believing it may have dragged the Vice President into the conflict.
Nagkakainisan lang, di ba? Yung term ng hukayin, alala ninyo yun? Nagalit yung mga Ilocano doon. Nagalit din sa akin, bakit hindi ako nag-react violently? Kaya sabi ko sa kanya, ano ka ba? Ba't mo sinasabi ang ganyan? Yun lang naman. Pero sa kabila nun, parang sinisisi ko rin ang sarili ko kasi parang dinamay ko siya sa gulo, nananahimik na siya, nag-file na siya bilang mayor ng Davao, kinaladkad ko pa.
Senator Imee shared that their political ad shoot happened right after VP Sara returned from The Hague, and it was the Vice President who chose black as the ad's theme.
Siya ang nagsasabi na wala siya sa mood, na talagang itim at luksa ang pakiramdam ng nakararami katulad niya. Ako naman, sabi ko, paano gagawin ng political ad yan? Makakabenta ba yan? Di ba nakakalungkot? Tignan natin at parang totoo nga naman, parang hindi naman angkop na magsayaw-sayaw, hindi naman tama na magmomotor, wala na sa lugar sa panahong ito na napakahirap ng dinadanas ng ating mga mamamayan. Tama din siya at saka ang itim, syempre nandyan yung pangalan ko, I trust Imee Marcos at yung aming paninindigan ay sinasakop rin ng itim na ipaglaban ang tama, itama ang mali.
The campaign video features Senator Imee and VP Sara wearing black and saying it reflects the current mood of the country. In response, Malacanang said President Marcos is against negative campaigning, especially when it spreads quote-unquote fake news. And Palace Press Officer Yuse Claire Castro once again clapped back at the previous administration.
Pag sinabi ba natin na itim ngayon ang kulay, mas madidescribe siguro natin nung nakaraang administrasyon na sobrang itim at ngayon ay papaliwanag sa panahon ng kasalukuyang administrasyon. Hindi man ganun pakaputi, pero patungo na doon.
The presidential sister acknowledges that many may question her decision to align with the Dutertes instead of her brother, but says the worsening national situation pushed her to act. She also admits she's not on good terms with President Marcos, but she hopes he won't take her decision personally.
Siguro maintindihan na lamang ako na hindi na tama ang landas ng administrasyon na nanghihinayang talaga ako para sa akin. Malaking trahedya sa amin to. Sana wag masamain. Alam ko nagtampo dahil dun sa hearing.
Senator Imee also thanked PDP-Laban President and Senator Robin Padilla for his endorsement. Their political ad was also shot in haste after his return from The Hague. However, despite these endorsements, Senator Imee clarified that she's not transferring to PDP-Laban and remains with the Nacionalista Party. Reporting for News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
But wait, she's not done criticizing the administration. Senator Imee Marcos also said that her brother's administration has lost its way and that she believes he is getting bad advice from the people around him. The senator also urged her brother to reflect this Holy Week.
Hindi ito ang turo ng aking ama, kaya hindi ko alam kung saan to nanggagaling at hindi ako papayag ng ganito. Ang akin kasi, napakaswerte na naming pamilya, binigyan kami ng pagkakataon ulit na makabalik at linawin ang tunay na legacy, ika nga ng aking ama. Ngayon, parang nasasayangan ako dahil eto nga 3 taon na, nauubos ang panahon sa politika, sa paghihigante, pakikiaway.
At that same press conference, she was also asked to comment on Senate President Ces Escudero, accusing her of using her position for her own political agenda. This was after Senator Imee held 3 hearings on the arrest of former President Duterte via her Committee on Foreign Relations. Recall that after the 3rd one last week, Escudero refused to sign a contempt citation for Special Envoy for Transnational Crimes, Ambassador Marcos Lacanilao. Escudero said Lacanilao was not given due process, then issued a harsh statement against Senator Imee, warning her, among other things, to not use the Senate for quote-unquote petty partisan interests. This is Sen Imee's reply.
Nakakatuwa naman talaga yung mga pinagsasabi. Ang akin na lamang, balikan natin ang tunay na rules ng Senado kung saan walang mahahanap kahit minsan ang binabanggit na show cause. Yung ginagamit para sa politika, nakakatuwa naman kasi alam naman natin na siya yung ambisyoso. Ako yung nakalimutan nga mga kampanya na.
For his part, Alianza campaign manager Congressman Toby Tiangco said, in response to Senator Imee's new backers, our candidates continue to receive overwhelming support both at the national and local level and even from grassroots organizations. This is something that we welcome and we are proud of because politics is about addition, not division. It is about building coalitions. And in any election, every bit of support counts. End quote.
Somebody else said politics is about addition. Who was it?
Harry Roque.
Yes. A candy for you, but yes. But biglang naging uso tong yung phrase, no? Politics is about addition.
I think it's an old adage.
It is.
Yeah. And I guess, hindi ba?
It is,
disproves.
pero it depends how you use it, right?
Yeah.
So earlier on StoryCon, we were talking about what precisely Harry Roque meant. And especially what he meant by calling Senator Imee Mangga. So, maraming theories. So,
from the shallow to the deep.
Somebody said it's because it's short for mangga gamit. right? Somebody said it was in reference to the
Facial features.
the shape of her face. Somebody said it's just an old Filipino adage comparing na kapag mangga hindi magbubunga ng santol,
Yes.
right? Something like that. I don't know, but anyways, that was a bit of an insult, wasn't it? I thought.
I found it, and it was the way he said it. He was really mad, like,
Oo.
hoy mangga. And so we can now count the number of Duterte supporters who have said, who are kind of sketchy on Senator Imee, right? There's Sal Panelo, Hanilet Avancenia, and now Harry Roque.
Roque basically said it. He doesn't trust Senator Imee still. Kahit na he will vote for her because VP Sara said so. But
He made it very
still-
clear.
He made it very clear he still doesn't trust her.
And even last night, right, Senator Bato de la Rosa, we asked him if that also means he will be endorsing Senator Imee. He said he's not sure he will be leaving it to PDP-Laban.
Hindi pa rin siya sure. So see, it's so late in the
Yeah,
game
he also
already.
clarified that, because I asked him, I remember, no, na parang, yung endorsement ba ni Robin, is that a party endorsement or personal? Sabi niya, no, that's personal. So I'm also not familiar na parang, usually you stick to your party.
Yes.
Lisa, my personal.
Yes.
It's a new thing.
Yes. And of course, Senator Imee keeps getting asked, is this a reward for you conducting all
hearings,
those hearings? Which is a fair question because when you think about it, late na tong endorsement eh. It's coming so late, 11th hour. It feels like an 11th hour push
Right.
for her, right? So if VP Sara had always, as she said, they've always been friends, so why didn't she endorse you earlier, right? Much, much earlier.
Yeah, and that was a big question also before. Kasi parang Imee would say na, no, our friendship is okay, our relationship is okay, but Sarah's was a little bit more cold or aloof,
I remember this.
Impeachment
She
pa
wasn't
lang yun
sure.
eh, wala pang arrest.
Before pa siya ma-impeach, right,
Yeah.
when she was holding those press conferences after she got impeached, she kept getting asked, who are you endorsing, who are you endorsing, and she wouldn't commit to anyone. That's right.
Well, we'll see kung anong magyayari, no,
So
sa
yun,
survey.
3 weeks to go.
Yeah.
But,
27
3 weeks
days
to go
to
and
go.
we have an official endorsement.
Well, with elections just right around the corner, Comelec is dealing with a wave of cases related to campaign violations. The latest one, given a show cause order, is incumbent Pasay City Councilor and mayoral candidate Editha Wawi Manguera.
Tanggalin na natin ang Mumbai! Para wala nang amoy sibuyas na nag-iiwan sa Pasay City.
Well, the Comelec believes she was referring to foreign students at the Pasay General Hospital, which will be a possible violation of the anti-discrimination and fair campaign rules. Manguera has 3 days to respond or risk facing charges or disqualification.
Lalo na patungkol sa issue ng racism. Hindi po magandang biro na ang isang grupo, lalo na halimbawa yung sinabing Bombay, ay ating patutungkulan at i-discriminate.
Meantime, Contra Daya filed a petition to cancel the registration of vendors' party list, claiming its first 3 nominees are not from marginalized sectors. The Comelec says nominees don't need to belong to a particular sector, but must have a clear advocacy. Nevertheless, in case they win, the full body can withhold their proclamation while the case is pending and a hearing is expected soon.
Hindi talaga mga vendor. Yung isa, kontratista sa DPWH at yung iba pa ay mga malalaking negosyante. It's a big mockery of the law.
Ang assessment ng Contra Daya is a bogus party list ito.
Sapat lamang na meron kang proven advocacy para sa sektor na yon.
So, mukhang mahirap na yung petition na yan kasi may ruling na yung Supreme Court. Diba? So you have to, it's gonna be really that much harder to prove.
And again, 3 weeks to go till the election. But then again, they said that they can always hold the proclamation if the candidate in question wins, right? So, I don't know. All I know is they're dealing with a barrage of cases at the moment.
Yeah, but a lot of it is also motu proprio on the Comelec's part, right? So
That's true. President Bongbong Marcos, in business news, I should say, President Bongbong Marcos has approved the renewal of Meralco's franchise, giving them the green light to operate for another 25 years. The law, which was signed on April 11, allows Meralco to continue distributing power to Metro Manila, Bulacan, Cavite, Rizal, and select areas in Batangas, Laguna, Quezon, and Pampanga until 2053. The company's current franchise expires in 2028. Meralco Chair and CEO Manny Pangilinan welcomed the news, calling it a recognition of the company's role in helping power the nation's growth, fortifying their commitment to delivering stable, reliable, and affordable electricity to millions of Filipinos across their franchise area. And of course, a quick disclaimer that Signal One News is, of course, part of the MVP group of companies.
That's right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but coming up next, can the West Philippine Sea tag on Google Maps back the country's territorial assertions against China's incursions? UP Institute for Maritime Affairs and Law of the Sea Director J. Bacal joins us next. Keep it here.
Welcome back to the Big Story. Chinese ships were once again spotted sailing in different areas around the country, with another one of their vessels attempting to block the BRP Cabra off the coast of Zambales. And now the Philippine Navy is convinced that the underwater drones recovered in various areas came from Chinese vessels. Brian Castillo with the story.
This Chinese ship was spotted by the crew of the Philippine Coast Guard's BRP Cabra past 10:30 a.m. on Monday. That time, BRP Cabra was patrolling along Capon Grande in Zambales when the Chinese vessel approached them.
The China Coast Guard vessel 21612. This is Philippine Coast Guard vessel BRP Cabra.
At one point, according to the PCG, the Chinese Coast Guard ship tried to block the BRP Cabra, but eventually sailed away.
36 nautical miles from Capon Grande, Zambales, Philippines.
Meanwhile, over at Itbayat, Batanes, the PCG flew its plane to monitor another Chinese research vessel spotted sailing in the area. The PCG repeatedly tried to radio the vessel, but the calls were ignored. These incidents have the Philippine Navy convinced that the underwater drones recovered in some areas in the country came from Chinese vessels, such as the one recovered in Pasukin, Ilocos Norte last July 2022, and the ones from Calayan Island and in Itao, Misamis Oriental last year.
Indicators would point with a likelihood of 55 to 80% these were made in China.
The Navy pointed out that aside from parts made by Chinese tech companies, one drone even had a Chinese SIM card.
They have the capability to receive, to process, to store, and to transmit. Based on the technical study of the forensics of the SIM card, the last contact that it had was in mainland China.
These submersible drones allegedly gathered data on the sea's depth, salinity, temperature, and sound range. But the Navy said these can also be used for military operations.
So conducting information gathering of the underwater terrain is an essential step for undersea warfare.
The Philippines has consistently protested China's incursions into its exclusive economic zone, an area Beijing claims, even though it's much further away from it. But yesterday, April 14, Google Maps formally marked the ocean west of the country as the West Philippine Sea, sending social media cheering. The armed forces naturally also welcomed this inclusion, saying it affirms international recognition of the country's sovereign rights, as upheld by the 2016 arbitral ruling under UNCLOS. It was nearly 13 years ago, in 2012, when former President Noynoy Aquino issued Administrative Order Number 29, naming maritime areas on the western side of the nation as West Philippine Sea. At the same time, Manila initiated an arbitration process protesting Beijing's claims in almost the entire South China Sea. 4 years later, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague invalidated China's dash line claims. But to this day, China remains defiant. For News 5, Brian Castillo, we are One News.
Off the back of these encounters, the Marcos administration once again raised concerns over ongoing tensions in the West Philippine Sea. That happened when Manila hosted the latest round of negotiations on the Code of Conduct in the South China Sea last week from April 9 to 11. The talks were co-chaired by Malaysia and China. The DFA says the Philippines stressed the need to adhere to international law, particularly the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea or UNCLOS and the 2016 South China Sea Arbitral Award. But progress has been slow on a code of conduct due to disagreements over its scope and whether it should be legally binding. While China prefers a non-binding agreement, some ASEAN countries are pushing for a legally enforceable agreement that aligns with international law. Beijing continues to reject the 2016 ruling, which dismissed its 9-line claim.
Coinciding with that, the Armed Forces of the Philippines confirmed that the Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System, or Nemesis, from the United States has arrived in the country. The Nemesis is a coastal anti-ship missile that can strike hostile surface vessels from land. The AFP also confirmed that it will be part of the Balita exercises that is slated for April 21 until May 9. In the said drills, 5,000 are expected to participate from the Philippine military, 9,000 from the U.S. Armed Forces, as well as 200 from the Australian Defense Force. In addition, 17 countries, including the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Japan, and South Korea, will also be participating as observers. Recall that back in March, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the Nemesis will be deployed to the Philippines to counter Chinese presence in the region. But it is unclear at this point whether it will be left in the Philippines after the exercises, just as the Typhoon missile system was last year.
To make sense of all of these, we're joined now by Attorney Jay Batongbacal, Director of the UP Institute for Maritime Affairs and Law of the Sea. Attorney Jay, good evening. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me.
The first thing I'd like to do is make a slight correction to our news story, an update, not a correction. Google has come out with a statement saying that the West Philippine Sea label has always been there. What they did recently was just to make it larger. So it's a labeling thing. They just made it more visible to see. So when you don't have to zoom in so close to see it. So that's all the changes that they made, but they say that it's always been there. Having said that, of course, people are still very happy to see it on social media. It's gone viral. People are sharing it jubilantly. Help us understand the context and the meaning behind this. Does it hold any sort of weight at all in your perspective?
Well, we have to first keep in mind that Google is a private company that also operates in the Philippines. They do have a local subsidiary, I think, and offices in Taguig. So they are considered as also a corporation operating or doing business in the Philippines. So it's just natural to expect Google to follow Philippine laws, rules, and regulations, including labeling of Philippine areas. So we thank Google, of course, for doing this and making it clearer, as you have just updated. No? But we also have to keep in mind that as a private company, I mean, Google is not a representative of, say, any country. No? So what it means really is that it's more of the widening recognition among private entities, citizens, and both natural and juridical, no? Of awareness of the Philippines and its rights and entitlements, no? Symbolized by the adoption of the name West Philippine Sea on Google Maps. And I think it's probably also in Google Earth. I'll have to check. Yeah.
All right, and of course, as that piece of news caught fire online and went viral, we've heard other pieces of news coming out of the waters around our country. One, the Navy saying that a lot of the drones, underwater drones that they've recovered, there are 5 of them from 2022 to 2024. They're saying they're 80% sure that these came from China. Then we have, of course, off Itbayat Batanes, the Chinese research vessel. Then coming off of the talks last week, Attorney Jay, what do you make of all of this? Is it more of the same? Is there some sort of escalation?
Well, in terms of the recovery of these drones in our waters, this has been happening for quite some time. Fishermen even contacted me a couple of times already back during the pandemic, wherein they showed me stuff that they had recovered. This included target drones and other instrumentation. Now, so in a way, it's more of the same. We also have to keep in mind that these types of underwater drones, they're designed for long-range loitering, and it's also possible that they were there even longer until their batteries ran out, literally. So they've been got washed ashore in some cases, no, or they were recovered by fishermen. So it's really more the same in a way. But it also is proof that for quite some time now, China apparently has been essentially exploring our inter-island waters, no? Because no matter, in the best case scenario, this could be considered as marine scientific research, which should be done with the consent and authorization of the Philippines. So the fact that these drones are possibly being released in our waters, no, or allowed to go into our waters if they're released outside of it, no, that should be a matter of concern, no? Because yes, it can be used for both scientific and or military purposes, the kinds of data that these drones are designed to collect, no? So it's only right that the Philippine Navy, Coast Guard, our maritime authorities, as well as our own citizens, no, when they see these things floating in our entire island waters, especially, they should be recovered and brought to the authorities, no, so that we can find out what they've been looking for or what they've been collecting, no, if we can, and get a sense of where their interests lie, no? As for the scientific research vessel that's being monitored off Batanes, again more of the same, but notice that this really began in frequency, especially only after 2017, no? And we have been monitoring these increasing activities of Chinese research vessels all around the country, no, within and outside of our EEZ. So some of this might be for scientific purposes, meaning altruistic purposes like weather forecasting or legitimate oceanographic research that might be together with international partners, but others may not. And the problem we have is that precisely China does not tell us, no, they do not, they apparently are not seeking our consent to do this, and that goes against international law.
Yeah, actually.
And they're not being transparent as well, because even if they do this, they have an obligation to share the data that they collect from our waters.
Right. So we know a little bit more about what data they're collecting. Some of it is has to do with water depth. Some of it's sound range, the salinity of the water. As you said, parang sounds innocuous enough. Sounds like it's gonna be, could potentially be for civilian use. But do these also have military functions? Could they be used for defense? If you have data like that?
Definitely, because what they're collecting basically is information about the underwater environment. So within that environment, you can either use it for altruistic purposes, like understanding the environment and knowing things like biodiversity, no, etc. Or you can use it as well for military purposes, because the devices that are used by submarines, no, weapons, submarine navigation, etc., those use the same environmental information in order to work, no? So that's why it's dual use, so-called. So this is a matter of concern, and that's why these types of activities necessarily have to have the consent of the Philippines if they're being done, no, and we're finding evidence of it in our waters.
Well, Attorney Jay, I also wanted to ask about your thoughts on the AFP already confirming that the Nemesis has arrived in the Philippines, and that's on top, of course, the Typhoon missile systems, which will be used in the Balikatan exercises. How do you think China will be reacting to these? Could they possibly see it as the U.S. using the Philippines as a hub to deploy its missile systems?
Well, we can expect that from China because it's their standard response now to anything we do. If we were to deploy a package of chippy or Jack and Jill cheese curls into the water, they'd probably say the same thing. Anything we do now for them is always They always protest it as being again another being done at the bequest of the U.S. or destabilizing, etc. No, I mean that only shows. I think that only shows that China really is very uncomfortable, shall we say, that we are now developing our capabilities, particularly for external self-defense. No, and these types of missile systems, they're you know for practical intents purposes, they really are only for defense because there's so few and the range is much shorter. People may not be aware that the Philippines, all the way up to most of the Visayas and parts of Mindanao, as well as the entirety of Palawan, we're already in the range of Chinese missiles. No? Since around 20, well, on the western side, since around 2016, 2017, when they installed these things on those artificial islands. And then from the mainland, no, even more, no, even longer. So for them, any little sign that a country like us, a smaller country like us, would want to build up our defense capabilities, for them is a challenge, no? And they don't like that. No? Even if in the end they have more, no? Still, the fact that a small country like us can dare to stand up to them and try to protect itself from them, no? That really apparently gets a reaction from them. So we can expect that they will have more of the same statements, same kinds of statements and reactions in the next couple of days.
While a lot of what we're talking about is, as we would put it, no more of the same, a few weeks ago, the PLA Eastern Theater Commanding General, he actually categorically said that they're rehearsing a blockade around Taiwan, and everyone saw the assets, air and sea assets going around the island. With the incoming Balikatan, which is about to start next week, Attorney Jay, how do you think it would change, I don't know, the intensity perhaps of the exercises this time around? Would it have an effect, you think?
Well, so far, remember, these types of exercises of China began around 2022. It's just that they become more frequent, no? While our Balikatan has regularly taken place for even longer. I don't think it will affect the Balikatan, in the sense that we already have a clear program and we're quite transparent about it, I think. And the kinds of activities and exercises we're doing have also shifted really to external defense. So it hasn't really changed. No? I mean, this is part of a longer process of building up our external defense. For the Chinese, their increasing frequency and intensity of these exercises, it has been progressing for quite some time, no? From say 1 or 2 back in 2022, then more in 2023, and now we're seeing sudden practically unannounced exercises as well taking place, no? So you could say that it doesn't have to be related to Balikatan. They clearly have their own schedule and their own pace. And what's probably more, what we need to watch out for really will be if they decide to carry out exercises coinciding with our exercises in the same area. So that will be the one that might raise eyebrows. But as I said, no, our exercises, Balikatan exercises, there are always briefings and they're always announced, so we know where they will take place and what will be involved. No, it's on the other side, which brings these surprises. No, so I would say that if that does happen, that there's a coincidence of these exercises in nearly the same area, like up north. Well, it will be clear that any issues that might arise will have been raised or will be provoked by them, not by us, no? Because our exercises are scheduled and transparent. It's theirs which are not.
Are you expecting that to happen with this year's Balikatan, that magsasabay sila? Or?
Well, it's not that I'm expecting it, but I wouldn't be surprised. No? Given that they have been increasing their frequency, their exercises around Taiwan. Yeah. So it is possible. Even a small-scale exercise like sending their jets to circumnavigate around Taiwan, for example, or a small fleet, no, that could raise problems if we happen to be also doing exercises in that area.
Yeah. talking about standing up to China, small countries standing up to China, the Philippines once again raised concerns about the tensions in the West Philippine Sea. This was during the joint working group negotiations for the Code of Conduct. Of course, it's behind closed doors, but from what we gather, the sticking points remain, what they call the milestone issues. Number one, the scope of the Code of Conduct. Number two, whether it's going to be legally binding. And of course, the Philippines is pushing for the code to be legally binding, but China is digging in and refusing to do so, to acknowledge that it should be legally binding. Tell me what the way forward is from here. You are an expert on maritime law. Is it possible to have a code that's not going to be legally binding? And if so, what would be the point of it if we can't hold each other to account legally?
Well, there are precedents for that, no? And for example, the 2002 Declaration of Conduct, it's a non-binding code, and from my perspective, it has been effective at least with respect to the ASEAN members who have claims against each other. No, the DOC has basically set a standard for them in how they relate with each other, and they've been able to manage their relations despite competing claims, no? Especially in the Spratly region. The problem is with China. No? In that sense, the DOC has been, say, limited impact, especially when it came to us. No? And that's to be expected because we're first in line. When you look at the map, dadaan talaga sila sa atin before they get to the other ASEAN claimants, except for Vietnam, which is off to the side. No? It would still serve a purpose if the member countries, the signatories, no, really demonstrate commitment to abide by what it contains. No? So in that sense, that's why the whole idea of a code of conduct, by the way, came from the Philippines back in 1996. And the point was that it would build confidence between the parties if they are able to demonstrate that they can agree to even non-binding rules. No? And by building up confidence, it could also be a way of stepping towards final resolution of disputes. No? Obviously, it hasn't achieved that purpose after 2 decades. No? So we can understand why countries would want a legally binding document, no? In the hope that a legally binding document would somehow be stronger, the commitment would be stronger. But the reality is, no, even a legally binding document, even if you sign it with your fingers crossed behind your back, no, or you sign it only for show with no intention of actually abiding by it, then it doesn't matter whether it's binding or legally binding. No? It's the commitment and the subsequent conduct that really matters. That's where we have a problem, I think, because the record has shown that certain countries might sign things but don't actually abide by them later on.
Yun nga, I feel like that's the only thing the Philippines can hold on to, right? If all countries were to at least sign it and agree that it should be legally binding, commitment or not. But I get your point about commitment. It's just that what other proof can we expect from China that they are committed to this other than for them to sign that document, right? To say, yes, it should be legally binding.
The proof will be in the pudding, meaning that, you have to sign it and then we have to see how they react. One thing that we have to watch out for, I think, which is very important, is they need to perform a gesture of good faith. No? For example, withdrawing their ships, no? Increasing the distance between their ships and ours. That, I think, is a necessary gesture of good faith in order for us to gauge whether they're really willing to abide by whatever rules are contained in the COC.
Yeah.
No? Oh, by the way, my understanding is that Philippines has not yet fully committed to a binding code of conduct at this point. No, because of course they have to wait and see what the final content of the document will be.
Yeah.
That is what will decide whether they would want it to be binding or non-binding.
Fair point. We'll leave that there. Thank you so much for your time and insights tonight. That was Attorney J. Batumbacal, Director of the UP Institute for Maritime Affairs and Law of the Sea.
We're going to be pausing for another quick break, but right after that, Anyone heading out tonight for your Holy Week destinations? We'll be checking in on the situation over at terminals and expressways in just a bit. Keep it here.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on The Big Story. The Holy Week exodus is set to begin tomorrow, and Lex is gearing up for a major surge of motorists on its expressways with up to 385,000 vehicles expected daily. What measures are being rolled out to ensure smoother travel for the long weekend rush? Joining us tonight is NLEX Traffic Management Head Robin Ignacio to give us updates. Welcome to The Big Story. Robin?
Yes, good evening.
Ayun.
Yes, good evening.
Sir, first up, kamusta po ang NLEX? How is it looking at the moment?
Actually, we are monitoring.
Hello, sir. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, the build-up started at about 3 to 4. And there was a slow-moving traffic from Balintawak to make
sir, medyo choppy lang po. You're coming up.
We'll try to call you again, sir, kasi medyo choppy yung line and we can't really understand what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be getting back to Mr. Robin Ignacio, but meantime, let's head on over to PTEX, where more travelers continue to arrive to catch trips to the provinces. News 5 correspondent Brian Basa is there right now to give us the latest. Hi, Brian. How's the situation over there at PTEX? Marami na bang mga travelers, passengers there this Tuesday evening?
Oh!
Brian, we'll have to double check your audio. Brian? Okay, so Brian is at PTEX.
We are having audio issues, girls.
Yeah.
2 in a row.
Looks like the audio's in vacation mode already.
As you were asking Brian, though, marami na bang tao? I could see all the people behind him. He
yes.
couldn't hear his report, but it looks like the traveling is starting early, especially government already announced.
Tuesday, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, diba?
And
tomorrow,
some of them are half
day.
day, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
government.
Okay, we have Mr. Robin Ignacio back
okay,
on the
let's
line.
try that again. NLEX Traffic Management Head Robin Ignacio to give us updates. Mr. Ignacio, can you hear us okay?
Robin?
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir, go
Is
ahead.
it clear na po?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Sir,
Okay, yes.
Go
just
ahead.
this afternoon, ma'am, we already monitored a traffic surge going north. Actually, it's not that much, but compared to normal Tuesday, the traffic is heavier. And starting 3 p.m. po, around 3 p.m., the tail end of the slow-moving traffic is already reaching the Balintawak Toll Plaza up to Maykawayan area. And also, we implemented counterflow lane, one lane from southbound for the northbound traffic, just to hasten the flow of traffic. But after Maykawayan area, the traffic is again fast-moving.
Okay, well, the last time, Robin, I passed the NLEX was a couple weeks ago. May mga areas pa certain stretches were under construction. Of course, alam namin, naayos na yung Marilao Interchange Bridge. But are all areas free and available for the Holy Week exodus traffic that we are expecting?
Yes, yes, ma'am, you're right. Actually, starting April 8th, all our roadworks, we temporarily completed all our roadworks. And so all our lanes are open to motorists starting April 8 up to April 21. So the Marilao Bridge, which we repaired, in that area also all lanes are available to traffic.
Also, Robin, taking a look at the images here, we're already seeing a buildup of vehicles at tollways, and that's only this Tuesday evening. We expect more vehicles to, of course, ply this major thoroughfare in the coming days. So any tips, Sir Robin, that we can give travelers who will be passing NLEX this Holy Week?
Yes, ma'am, you're right that we are still expecting a higher volume starting tomorrow afternoon. and that will last until nighttime. And again, early morning of Thursday, we expect again traffic to surge until afternoon of Thursday. And we will immediately implement counterflow from Balintawak area up to Marilao area. Again, that counterflow is for the northbound traffic flow. And also at the two-lane stretch of the expressway from San Fernando to Dau, we will also implement counterflow just to ease out the traffic going north.
I think one of the tips also important is for motorists or travelers to load up
Yes,
their
I was gonna say,
RFIDs.
check your balances.
That's a good tip. Okay, we'll leave that.
Actually, RFID users are encouraged to check their balance and ensure that they have enough load for their travel.
So as not to cause bottlenecks, no? Okay, thank you so much for your update. NLEX Traffic Management Head, Robin Ignacio.
Right, going back to PTEX, where more travelers continue to arrive to catch trips through the province.
Hi, Reg, Shawn, and Pawi. Magandang gabi sa inyo. It's great to be back on your show and back here at PITX for Holy Tuesday. But I wish I could say the same for the passengers here. We're seeing long lines from time to time here at the entrance of the terminal. You're seeing that they are passing through the inspection process. As usual, there are K9 units on standby. Essentially, at this hour, marami pa ring tao ang nandito sa loob ng terminal waiting to board their buses and get to their destinations tonight. It's Holy Tuesday, and so far, na-breach na yung total from yesterday, kumbaga 24 hours ago, the 6 p.m. update from PITX was 135,000. Ngayon, nag-137 na as of 6 p.m. And that is expected to reach pa 200,000 tomorrow kasi nga Holy Wednesday, so people are trying to catch up for the holidays on Monday, Thursday, and Good Friday. That's the general feel here at the terminal tonight, ladies.
Are there tickets still available being sold there for those people who have not booked ahead of time online? Or ano ba yung abiso nung mga bus companies? Mas okay ba na mag-book muna na lang online? Or may pag-asa pa ba kung tumuloy na lang dyan sa PTEX?
Yeah. Ganito, kasi if you're bound for Bicol, tickets are selling out, no? Around 7 in every 10 buses ang fully booked na today and tomorrow. That means only 9 Bicol-bound trips today and 5 trips tomorrow ang may available seats. So medyo pahirapan ang pagbebenta ng tickets or pahirapan ang pagkuha ng tickets sa mga pasahero. That's why our reminder ever since we began our Holy Week coverage is to buy your tickets early to get good seats inside the bus. But not all hope is lost naman for chance passengers because we have to remember that 1,000 buses have special permits for the Holy Week Exodus. So ibig sabihin, kung ano yung buses na usually bumabiyahe, madadagdagan pa yan for the Holy Week Exodus. Out of the 1,000 figure, 40 to 50 are bound for Bicol coming from the PITX. So sa mga pasahero natin, ang sagot dyan ay patience ng konti at kaunting bilis ng kilos if they really want to get home on time because ang ano ngayon, ang siste is pag wala na yung mga regular na buses, mapunta kayo sa ordinary fare buses. So medyo it's also a point of choosing, I guess, for the travelers kung gusto nilang magtiis muna sa ordinary fare bus in exchange of getting home for the Holy Week. At least that's for the passengers heading to Bicol. Ladies.
Yeah. You heard it here first. Bilisan nyo daw.
Bilisan
According
nyo na.
to Brian Basa of News 5.
That's really good advice, though, because we know how it gets every Holy Week. But thank you so much for that update. News 5 correspondent Brian Basa reporting to us live from PTEX in Parañaque. And before we go, we mark a historic moment as an all-female celebrity crew takes up space. Our big picture tonight is the Blue Origin space flight carrying pop star Katy Perry, American TV personality Gayle King, and Jeff Bezos' fiancée Lauren Sanchez. Also on board were film producer Carrie Ann Flynn, former NASA engineer Aisha Bo, and scientist and civil rights activist Amanda Nguyen. The fully automated flight lasted a little over 10 minutes, where they experienced weightlessness, and Perry couldn't help but sing, "What a Wonderful World." This is the 11th human spaceflight for Blue Origin and the first where women filled each seat. The only other all-female crew was back in 1963, where Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova launched by herself. Still, even after the launch, women represent barely 15% of the 700 who have traveled into space.
Would you?
For 11 minutes? Sure.
Yeah.
I thought it was like an hour or 2 hours.
Yeah.
Or they were stuck in space for a year like those astronauts.
Yeah. Who are still stuck.
11 minutes lang pala. I can do 11 minutes.
Kaya.
Yeah.
But would you kiss the ground after?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Would
I
you
mean,
would?
they crossed the, what did they call it? The line?
The atmosphere.
It starts with a K, I forgot. Yes, the line that separates the Earth from space.
From official outer space.
They crossed it, so yes, they went into outer space. It's
you know
much
what though? If
faster.
you look at the videos, it looked so fun. Parang,
They were weightless. They were
like
flying
taking
around,
selfies. And,
hopefully
I
one
wonder
day.
if they saw the West Philippine Sea from there.
Oh,
well, maybe because Google made the font
made it
bigger.
larger. There's a big West
They
Philippine
went
Sea.
really high up.
So they zoomed out.
Maybe they saw the bigger labeling. I don't know. I'm kidding.
Okay. On that joke, that's it for the big story tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for watching. Good night.